All right, welcome to the Design Build Show. I'm here with...
Can I sip while this goes on?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I'm here with my mentor, Greg Antonelli, and my mentor from afar. Greg, when I got into the remodeling industry, Greg was an established remodeler, and he was like, I'd never seen anything like him. He was successful. He was making money. He was...
I had long hair.
He was confident. He was, yeah, I didn't have long hair either, but he was everything I wasn't at the time. So I really took to him, and he was very accessible. You know, he was the president of our local membership organization, the National Association of the Remodeling Industry. He was on, he had this blog on the Remodeling magazine, and I just ate up his content. And he really helped me a lot. Any conversations I always had, he was so helpful. Always, looking to point me in the right direction. And I really, what's that expression with the teeth? Chewed my teeth or?
Cut your teeth?
Cut my teeth. I cut my teeth. Thank you. Save me there. I cut my teeth on his material. And so it's an honor to have you on the show. Really appreciate you taking the time here.
I saw promise.
Yeah. Well, you saw something.
It's come to fruition.
Yeah, still got a ways to go, but Greg does run a design build firm, and I want to play the devil's advocate with you here because I think you're that type of guy who's probably good at that.
Go for it.
And a lot of times I feel like I'm just bashing architects on this show because I'm talking about all the things they don't do. But there's the other side of it, which is the guy who not a design builder or even not, design build to me is a bit of a mentality. It's like one of accountability and really taking care of the client in all facets of a project. And you collaborate. Sometimes you collaborate with an architect, right? Where it's
one
separate with where it's one. But you do. Who gets it, right? They get that you both have your role. And but what about enough about the architect who's not providing all the services that we do. But what about the contractor who's purporting to a client that they do design, but really doesn't have the skill set to design? Like, what is the client missing when they don't hire a firm that really has design capability?
That contractor for whom good design all centers around an Anderson archtop window.
Right.
That's their design statement on every job.
Right. The nuts and bolts of it, right? They know how to build, but they don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. Because everybody can call themselves design build if they want to.
Yeah, they can, right? It's a very common thing in our industry.
The one thing that I think that comes along with design build, even when they're lacking on the design side, is a certain level of budget accountability, and they may not end up with the best product.
Yeah.
I think the process and accountability along the way is still heightened with design build, even with poor design.
Yeah. But let's play the devil's advocate here. Like, what are they missing? Like, with what this architect that you do collaborate with, what does she bring to the table that you enjoy and acknowledge her skill set in that is that she is superior at?
She's a great designer, great problem solver.
Yeah.
Is not pie in the sky with design ideas. I mean, design ideas have they're reality based, and by the same token, her ego is not so big that she doesn't realize that we might have a good solution as well.
And what does she acknowledge that the capability she doesn't have that you bring to the table?
We can expedite the process. while we want to give design its due respect, and make sure we've covered all the ideas and given the client all the options and all the cost-benefit analyses to any idea, and what I tell architects, by and large, are artists.
Go on with that.
And for them, design is an end unto itself.
Because with an artist, right, the painting is the end product.
Right.
So you're saying with an architect, some of them have the mindset like the plans are the end product.
Right. And for most of our clients, anyway, I don't know, the people that we find a good fit with, design is a means to an end.
Right.
Again, it has to be given its due respect, and we don't want to miss anything. But we're trying to get to a finished product.
Yeah.
And most of our clients want more of their dollars put into tile and faucets and things that they're going to get to keep and use.
Yeah.
Not just esoteric exercises.
Yeah. Not pen on a piece of paper.
Right.
Yeah.
Again,
So how do you expedite the process? How does this architect, what do you do? What are the things you actually do to help expedite a project?
Just right off the bat, we'll do a feasibility study based on a baseline design idea that will get expanded upon and refined.
What does that mean? What does that mean, though? Feasibility study.
We're going to do an X by Y addition to the house, 1 story, 2 stories. It's going to have hardwood floors. It's going to have X number of, Pella Architect Series double hung windows. It's going to have, this room is going to have 8 recessed lights, and quantify everything and put a number to it.
Yeah.
So this project, as written with all these bullet points, including design and engineering and all this stuff, is going to be X plus or minus 10%.
Got it. So very early on, a client can have an outline of their project, have a cost that's within a certain range there.
In our world, it's plus or minus 10%.
Okay. And so that's how you expedite the process, because you're not going through the whole design process just to find out your 2X.
Right.
What you wanted to spend on the project.
Right, exactly.
Cool.
In our world, 100% of what we design gets built.
Yeah. What do you think the percentage is for?
I think it's less than 50%.
Yeah. I would love to have that metric, like that statistic of what it actually is.
Well,
because it's such a testament to design build.
Yeah. We had one exercise with this architect where she had the client sold. We were going in as a team, and then I don't know. I found out later. I won't go into it, but the client decided they wanted to put it out to bid, and I said, "Great, have a good time. I'm out." She said, "But you have all the great ideas." I said, "Well, then hire me." It's that simple.
Right.
But anyway, we did ended up bailing on it.
Yeah.
And I asked the architect, I said, "So how much did your fees just go up?" She said, "They just doubled if I have to put together bid documents."
Yeah.
Like idiot-proof
Yeah.
bid documents
Right.
versus, we have an understanding and we're going to make the client happy, and I don't have to draw every little molding detail and everything to put out to bid to 3 contractors as if that's a representative sample.
Right. When we were just talking, I mentioned how I studied I was just like, you were like my idol. Still are in many regards, but
that's okay. You saved that.
But on one of the things on your website, I remembered what the other thing was now. I think it was in a magazine article or something where somebody asked you, like, what does an architect bring? What's the benefit of an architect, or what does an architect bring to the table? Do you remember what your answer was?
I would answer ideas.
Yeah, well, that was it. Great design ideas.
Yeah.
Which is very true, you know.
Because they are artists.
Yeah, and something is missing from a project. It is important. It is important. The thing I think that gets missed is that that's not the only factor. And when people go to an architect, they think they have the idea that that person is looking out for those other factors when they're really not able to, because they don't know.
Well, and again, this architect that we work with, she's acknowledged that she has a huge level of anxiety while she's designing. Say, am I on budget? Am I on budget? They told me $500,000.
Yeah.
And
how come she doesn't know what things cost?
Because that model of design bid is broken. And there's a place for it in commercial. Maybe it's commercial. I don't know commercial.
Right.
Maybe new construction. You know, a lot of what we do in the remodeling world is, and I'll downplay it. I mean, we're creative, but a lot of what we're doing is plagiarism. We have an existing house that's going to dictate certain design details.
Right.
For us, we've established our reputation on being seamless.
Yeah, you guys are craftsmen.
You can't really tell where the old house ends and where the new part begins. A little bit less so in recent, like, you know, this old house thing is, I'm not offending anybody, but it's just not as popular. In the 90s, it was all about, you know, we did a ton of work on Victorians, intricate woodworking and whatnot. Now people are a little bit more minimalist.
Yeah.
They want to give a nod to tradition, but tone it down.
Yeah.
So again, we're copying things. We're looking around the house and going, well, you have these beams here, or this soffit there, or, you know, this kind of molding and whatever, and here's how we can tie it together and make it look like this was always part of the house. So the level of creativity, we're not starting from scratch. And so much more. The hands-on, the technician needs to have a say in how it's going to come together, because you've got to undo things and make sure the existing things don't fall down in the meanwhile.
Yeah.
And
but very simply stated, the architect of today doesn't build. So so the question of, like, how come the architect doesn't know how much it's going to cost is like, well, they don't build. They don't know.
Right.
There's like completely. They rely 100%, even when it's design bid build. It's like, we'll see what the bid comes in. I mean, they may be crossing their fingers, but they don't know. You know, it's like, I mean, there's historical information, and remodeling is different. Like, every project is different.
Well, we're still blown away. Like, even with change orders or whatever, we always, unless it's going to be less than $300 or something, we're going to price it ahead of time, even when the client just says, go ahead and do it. We're going to figure it out and make it, okay, you realize it's this much, because like, even the cost factors are changing exponentially, it seems. You know, especially in this market.
Yeah.
You know, we've got, you know, lead carpenters pushing $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
You know, it's I can't imagine, and this, I think, successful design builders, their core competency, or there has to be empathy.
Yeah.
And that's got to be the first qualifier.
Yeah, you got to care.
So, and put yourself in the client's shoes, getting blindsided with the cost of things. Because honestly, I'm still blindsided.
Yeah. I mean, it's an accountable way to execute a project, because in the design process, and even in the construction, I mean, you're giving the client all the information they need to make a decision with all the information. Like, what's missing when you can't make a decision typically is information, because you don't have it all. So to make design decisions, go through design phases without having some accountability behind where you're at that point is very problematic.
Well, and that's what when we're designing on our own or when we're collaborating with this architect, she appreciates, hey, what if we did this? 10 grand.
Yeah.
Right there
Right.
on the spot.
Right.
And then the client can go, okay, forget about that.
Make a decision, yeah.
Or no, that's worth it.
Right.
I'll cash in some stock to pay for that. It's worth it, or whatever. We often ask clients, okay, we've set a budget. If we have a really cool idea that we know is going to blow the budget, we don't want to be insulting to dangle a carrot in front of them that they can't afford. So it's like, do you want us to mention them or just keep them to ourselves?
Yeah.
No, I'm on a strict budget. Don't tease me.
Yeah. Good question to ask.
Or the worst thing is to get to the end of the job and go, geez, if I had known that was a possibility, I would have sold a car to pay whatever it is to pay for. I would have, asked my parents for money or something.
Yeah.
So our mantra, we have quite a few, but one of our biggest mantras is respect the budget. Respect the budget. And when design and build are divorced, it's impossible to respect the budget.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's why you're seeing even guys who are builders, they call themselves builders, in our industry, they're getting involved. Like the design bid build thing is still out the door because their whole model is based on getting involved early on in a project. So even if there is a separate architect like you guys do with this architect, you have that collaboration where, the full picture is being presented to the client so that you can move forward. The other thing I mentioned to you from your website that resonated with me was the design bid build model is a failed experiment. And
obviously it's a biased statement.
It's dude.
I don't mind saying screaming it from the highest mountaintop.
You were one of the first guys that I recall, just being very vocal to that regard. And I think in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to keep turning. It's going to keep going back because the whole purpose of this show is to educate and enlighten people on the fact that design build. If you look at the, when does civilization happen? 5,000 BC, like the Egyptians and whatnot. For what is that? 6,000 years of civilization.
I'll trust you on that one.
Yeah, up until the past 150 years, it's all been design build. Like the Romans, the Gothic age, even the Renaissance. That's when the artists came about. But there was still respect of I'm not an architect. I'm just designing the building. But the architect is the guy who builds it too. It's only been the past 150 years where it's been design, bid, build, but there's been such a good push and it's so ingrained in the educational institutions that everybody thinks that's always the way it's been.
Yeah.
That's the idea, it's always been separated. Do you agree? Most people think that?
Yeah, somehow that model, they did a great marketing campaign or something.
Yeah.
Because I still find, I think it's coming around.
Yeah.
But there's so many people that will call us and they'll be so far down the road that they feel, well, we've already spent 10 grand on whatever, and we, to get them to, reverse engines and shift to a design build. Though I usually tell that we can pick up anywhere along the way.
Yeah. It's not uncommon that we'll get calls where it's like, oh, we were 2 times our budget, 3 times even.
Right, and it sat on the shelf for a year.
Yeah.
They became totally disillusioned. They were in love with that design. They could taste it. They just want to get going on the project. Then they have their legs cut out from under them. It's 2 times their budget. and it sits on the shelf. And finally, they get up the gumption. They talk to one of our clients or whatever, and they say, "Hey, just call so and so, us, or you," and then we can do some tweaks and we can rein it back in and get it going. But there's that moment of disillusionment that is avoided in the design build model.
Yeah. Right.
That's really, and my goal is, you're going to hear one of my patented spiels, but I was raised by an attorney who was raised by an attorney, and there's a reason I'm not an attorney, is I don't like awkward conversations. I want to do everything I can up front to ground all of the parties in reality and find a happy place and go.
Yeah.
And not in the middle of the project, we didn't think of this, or we didn't, it's, if it's not supposed to happen, let's find out really early.
Yeah.
And save everybody a lot of time and heartache. And that's really the core of our model is let's try to avoid awkward conversations.
Yeah. There's nobody else to point the finger. I mean, when you do miss something, because sometimes we're not perfect.
Right.
What happens then?
Most of the time in our world, we're just paddling like hell below the surface and looking like the calm swan.
Yeah, what does that mean, though? What does that translate that for?
It's do whatever we got to do to stay on schedule and to give the client what we told them we were
it's
going
not
to give them.
It's not their problem.
Right.
Yeah, you're accountable.
We created a model where we have the right to investigate the hell out of their house, cut holes in walls and ceilings, and yeah. That was our waiter.
We can't tell you. Usually I tell people we're at the restaurant we're at, but we're not supposed to be here now.
It's not obvious.
Yeah.
If we created the model where people place trust in us and engage us 100%, and we work out the final details, cut holes in walls and whatever, then we really don't have the right to go back to them and say, we missed that.
Yeah.
And it's not hard.
Yeah, I mean, there can be unforeseen conditions, but a lot of times you can set expectations to let people know what you don't know.
Well, and like twice we've opened stuff up and found old fire damage. Where the current owners never knew there was a fire in the house, and it had been patched together, and it was like, we really couldn't have foreseen this.
Yeah.
And that was, but it's all a level of trust.
Yeah.
If they believe that you're acting on their best behalf, then they trust you, and
it's more black and white. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's less risk, a lot less risk, I think, for the client. Do you know what the derivation of the word architect is?
Only from one of your other blogs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Or
what is it?
Vlogs. That's the right word, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing here.
Is that how you found out?
Vlog. Yeah, I watched. I forget the name of the gentleman. You were, as everybody will forget who the hell I am. It was Builder, right?
Master Builder.
Master Builder.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. The guy who started out as the apprentice was a journeyman, became a master. I mean, I was trained as an architect, never had any building experience, and then I got to a studio. I was all set to go, and then I was I remember I was doing some sort of detail, and I was completely lost. I had no clue. I'd never built. I'd pitched some tents, and I've hung some drywall, and then I was gonna detail a thing for somebody to build, and I was like, how am I gonna it's completely deficient, and but it makes sense, right? That's the point. Once you've built it, the thing I look at is the education today of an architect is completely deficient, because the great majority never have been on a construction site until afterwards, and that's who you're directing. The right sequence is to build, get the mass of it and some understanding, and then once you've mastered that, then you can direct guys and be like, hey, here's how you do it. So
Well, I'm tempted to go off on a tangent.
Yeah, go
about,
ahead, go ahead.
Well, that work experience and whatever should be happening in the teens. You know, get out on a framing crew, summer job, whatever
amen.
it is.
And the great architects, I think, do. You know, a lot of you know, because there are a lot of great architects there that do get it, and but those are the ones I think by and large that have that experience.
And unfortunately, the kids who are, I mean, one of the best students I've had recently is my own daughter, who's very artistic, thinks geometrically, and yet I sent her off to college, and for whatever reason, so many kids who have that inclination are pushed down a separate track to end up, as a barista anyway.
Yeah, well,
with college debt.
Guess the percentage of kids that go into architecture school. Guess what the percentage is that actually become licensed architects?
I'm gonna skew it low, maybe, but
yeah, that's pretty low to me. It's pretty low, so
30,
20%.
yeah. And what do the other 80 end up doing?
I don't know. I'm one of them.
We have, I call him a kid, he's in his late 20s now, but who worked for us part-time, full-time, off and on, back and forth, while he was getting his bachelor's in finance. Mm-hmm. Graduated, worked in finance for 3 years, called me.
Yeah.
Can I come back? I hate this. It's like, well, that was a nice, $200,000 experiment.
Yeah.
Or more.
Yeah.
There are kids for whom what we do is just a natural fit, and for some reason they fight it, or their parents fight it, and they end up here anyway.
Yeah.
Wasting a lot of years and a lot of money. I often say that, a large percentage of the plumbers I know own boats.
Yeah, they're doing all right.
It's like, if they didn't lie to themselves for their first 10 years of their professional life, you can get a jump on it.
Yeah.
Stay at home, live with mom and dad. By the time all your friends are graduating with debt, you'll be at, $80,000 a year. You've saved every penny. You got a down payment on your first multifamily. You fix it up, you rent it out. I mean, there are other ways.
Oh, there's a ton of opportunity in this arena, and
you'll be more fulfilled.
Yeah,
maybe first and foremost.
Yeah, I mean, you're helping people. I mean, another thing where we got to know each other a little bit is volunteer projects, because those are so validating for what we do. Because in a very short-term basis, you can see the Room to Dream Foundation.
Yeah.
You got me hooked up with them eventually, and in a weekend, you can have this, and we do it for other clients, but it takes months. But in a weekend, you can change this space that completely changes this person's life forevermore, and improves it, and you see it. It's like so tangible. It's an amazing feeling.
Well, and everybody. Our monthly staff meeting last month, we were talking about this, and everybody's house is like they'll go to work, they'll go out into the world, and they'll deal with whatever jerks or whatever BS they have to deal with to bring home the bacon or whatever. And when they get home, they don't want to deal with any BS, and they want their home to be a place of comfort and a fit for them. We create that fit, and all along the way, we hopefully do it so that they're not dealing with any BS.
Yeah.
They don't want
the experience.
conflict.
Yeah.
The last place anybody wants conflict is in their house.
Yeah.
And it's a sanctuary and a refuge, and that's what we get to do.
Yeah.
There are huge potential wins for everybody.
Yeah.
And I don't know in any other industry
Right.
where the potential for a win is so huge.
Yeah. Somebody related it to me recently very well. The last Colin Hand from Blade of Grass, which is a design build landscaping firm, said, I don't know anything, any physicality, any physical universe object that's as relatable to family as somebody's home. It's like the next thing, right? So we have an impact in that, and
it can be really, like I said, the wins are huge.
Yeah.
And if we can full circle to the design build thing, we're setting ourselves up so much better for a win, a mutual win.
Yes.
Through a design build process.
Yes.
Fewer hurdles.
Less contentiousness, less people stuck in the middle.
Yeah. Fewer less finger pointing.
Right. Well, I want to thank you. You've been a huge inspiration for me, and I hope for others. I mean,
it's great to see you kicking my butt these days.
Yeah. Well, Greg, I feel like Greg's been a little dormant recently, and I hope this spurs him to even if you just video, just throughout the day, just like have somebody video you. We'll all be better for it.
All right, I'll try to figure that out.
Yeah, just
I'm
have
a little
some
old school. I'm finding I'm more and more old school. But
yeah, just get over it. Do it for to pay it forward.
All the things that maybe you gravitated to years ago really coming from a hippie place, not a vlogging and cutting edge place. But
I don't know what to tell
I'll
you,
get with
man.
the times.
Yeah, I mean, there's a message there. Honestly, I do hope this inspires you, because I do want to that accessibility, that me, not me against the world mentality, but it was just this, it was just different. It was just a different perspective, a kind of a devil's advocate.
Well, I think, and for whatever design builders or whoever you are watching this, I think the biggest thing is getting comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah.
No matter how big we might be as design builders, remodelers, whatever, we're still small businesses. Mm-hmm. And every small business is a reflection of the owner. Mm-hmm. You can't get away from that. And it was really, I only found myself begin to flourish. I guess my wife might be still waiting for me to flourish, but
mine's just kicking my ass. She's not waiting.
Is when you start to feel comfortable in your own skin and confident. Like, I used to think that I had to be something else and act like that other guy.
Yeah.
And when you realize that the more you act like yourself and just let it be, then you'll attract people who are more like yourself.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a happy, I don't know, say a vicious circle.
Yeah.
It's a happy cycle.
Yeah.
And then those happy people who are like you, who appreciate you, will refer like-minded people. And we get to the point where where our referral base has outgrown our production capacity.
So just video yourself.
All right.
It just feeds right into what you're talking about. It's like then you're gonna have more people see you and get in that, resonate with you. And you're gonna.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Well,
you've been an inspiration to me.
Oh, well, thank you, brother.
No, I watched a couple of your vlogs. These are cool.
Good, man. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you much. Greg Antonelli, Out of the Woods Construction.
Night.